you, Tamika. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to the C-Tech family. Good afternoon to those who may not be a part of the C-Tech family but are here. Welcome. This afternoon, I've decided to shift things up a little bit and make our session today a little bit more interactive. So I would first like to acknowledge that I will be sharing a presentation, but at the same time, I'll be stopping to engage with you or have your feedback. So I do want to go through, you can tell who cannot multitask because of doing a lot of mindfulness. So first I do want to go through who I am again. I'm Janelle Reid, a licensed associate counseling psychologist working with children, adolescents, and adults, empowering, and inspiring each individual that I work with, changing lives around the world and helping them realize or recognize that your circumstances don't define you, but it's a part of you. So that's the approach I take when working with individuals. I want to also acknowledge confidentiality, that what we discuss in this forum today, especially since it will be a little bit more interactive, that what we discuss in the group remains in the group, even if you interact with others outside of the group. We want everyone to feel comfortable in sharing, as well as comfortable knowing that what we've shared will stay here. All right. So I want to begin by asking you what you're celebrating today. What are you celebrating today? Anybody willing to open their mic and share what they're celebrating?
Okay, so for me, Janelle, I'm celebrating life, the ability to, actually be alive today and to be able to share in this session. So yeah, celebrating life.
Great, thank you. Anybody else willing to share what they are celebrating today? Any other celebrations? Today I am celebrating the end of the week. Today is my Friday, so I'm celebrating that it's the end of the week for me, and I've gotten through a very hectic, busy, challenging week. So that's what I'm celebrating today. Anybody else willing to share what they're celebrating? And it could be something small, right? Celebrations don't have to be anything big and extravagant. Anybody else willing to share?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm celebrating the ability to be able to move about, A lot of persons don't have this ability, They once had it, but at some point, in life, something happened, so I am giving God thanks that I'm able to move about.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you very much. Anybody else willing to share what they're celebrating? All right, so I'm going to move on. If you want to share still, you can utilize a chat to do so. There's no problem in sharing there. But why did I do that? Because sometimes it's easy to focus on what's not going right, and we forget about what's going right, or we don't give that any credit. And as our topic today states, work-life balance and caring for basically our loved ones during this pandemic time, during this crisis time, this uncertain time. I think helping to identify the small wins, not I think, I know, helping to identify the small wins makes it easier to move through the day, to move through when we're in a crisis or something that seems unstable. And in considering what a crisis looks like, right? We are in the midst of a global crisis, because worldwide, everyone is experiencing this pandemic. However, within that crisis, we may have our own small crisis that we're managing or dealing with within our families, within ourselves. What I like to consider our intrapersonal relationship, which is the relationship that we have with ourselves, or we might be talking to ourselves, or self-talk. So what might a small win look like? If I'm a negative person, or I speak negatively towards myself, or I might be an overachiever, and when I don't get something right, or I don't get something accomplished, I speak negatively towards myself. It might be recognizing that, hey, today I went through this difficult thing and I did not criticize myself. I was not mean towards myself. I basically celebrated with myself, right? Or provided positive self-talk or feedback to myself. So that could be a small, simple celebration versus some of what we shared today, all right? So we wanna consider that as we move along. And then I'd like to take us into this mindful minute moment. And this is going to require us to move. So if you're driving, anybody on this call right now driving? Is there anyone driving? And I'm going to demonstrate, well, I'm going to lead you through, yes?
I am driving.
Okay, Miss Conto, Janelle, my namesake, please do not attempt to do this activity. I want you to do it when you're stationary and at home, all right?
Okay.
But what we're going to do, if you are able to, I want you to stand. I need you to stand. And I want you to use your right hand, whichever feels comfortable, whether it's your right hand and right foot, or left hand and left foot. And I want you to hold your foot with your hand like this, okay? And with the other hand, hold it out and close your eyes. And I really want you to notice. So if you're going to participate, I really need you to close your eyes. My eyes are closed, if you can see, right? And holding this, and just notice what's happening. Just notice what's happening for you as you're attempting this movement, okay? And then I want you to continue holding the pose, but now I want you to open your eyes. I want you to open your eyes. All right, and now we can release and sit. And I want some feedback from you. I want you to tell me what that experience was like for you. Help me out. Share, open your mic, comment. If you
Hi.
Hi.
When I did it, I was unbalanced. I feel like I was toppling over, but when I opened my eyes, I felt balance.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Did anybody else have that experience? Anybody had a similar experience or a different experience?
Okay, so for me, Janelle, I was tempted to open my eyes because I felt I was stumbling over and I did have issues holding my legs.
Okay. When you open your eyes, was it the same?
No, it felt better. I felt more in control.
Great. Okay, so I'm wondering how we could apply what we just experienced, right, to our daily routine, our daily procedures. I'm wondering, does anybody want to share what insight they may have gotten from that exercise and noticing when my eyes are closed, I don't feel as balanced. When my eyes are open, I was able to maintain my balance more. What might that look like for that exercise and insight for my daily routine? Anybody willing to share? Nobody? All right. So I'm wondering if recognizing that for balance to happen, for balance to take place, we have to have some sense of awareness. We have to have some sense of vision or sight. And as I'm sharing with you right now, I'm wondering, I've never had the opportunity to do this exercise with people who might be visually impaired or blind. So I'm not sure if their experience would be different, especially if they were born that way, right? Because they have no sight. But the reality is for those individuals, your other senses kick in, right? Or your other senses make up for the one that has lost. But we're not gonna focus on that today, unless I have someone here who is visually impaired or completely blind. And visual impairment does not necessarily mean that you wear glasses, but more so if you have like blurred vision or you can only see certain, it's not necessarily blurred. I forgot the correct name for it, but it's like you can only see shadows, you can't make out images, etc. So that's what we would define as visually impaired, right? But the point I'm making is, imagine if we were to navigate our lives with the first part of the activity of keeping our eyes closed and trying to maintain that balance, or probably beating up on ourselves when we don't have that balance, right? What might that look like? So which one are you? Are you the person on the left trying to navigate what work-life balance looks like? And life might be bigger than work because I might be a parent, I might be a sister, I might be a wife, a brother, a friend. We also have titles along with what we do in our daily lives, or the additional things that we may encounter daily. Some of us may be involved in our churches or community service work. So in addition to what I do at work, there are other things that I may do that hold a particular.
Some mental health something. I really want to go, but because I'm
Oh, okay. So it's for you to recognize, do I want to be the person on the left, or do I want to be the person on the right? Right? So today I want us to consider how we're gonna look ahead and help to create more balance in my daily routine. What is that going to look like for me? Because even though our topic suggests work-life balance and caring for my loved ones during this pandemic, sometimes it might feel overwhelming if I'm not balanced, but if I am balanced as managing everything, then that becomes easier to accomplish, all right? What's my commitment level? And how committed am I to being consistent and making sure that I'm navigating with my eyes open so I can maintain that balance, right? I want us to recognize what we're feeling right now in the present moment. Probably it's the end of the week for some of us, probably it's the beginning of a week. What feelings are you noticing coming up right now within the present moment, so that we can, one, identify our feelings, and two, recognize what we might need to help ourselves, manage ourselves, and bring in that balance, right? So, and the last one is identifying an accountability partner. So that person doesn't necessarily have to be on this call. That accountability person could be someone in your family, someone in your friendship circle, somebody who you can trust, somebody who you feel comfortable with saying, basically, when I'm not on track, when we check in about our routine, etc., can you help to basically bad me up, for lack of a better word, right? So that I can see where I have broken my agreements, right? So looking ahead and creating more balance in my daily routine now, I'm getting ready to identify what I'm going to do or what I'm agreeing to do to create that balance, whether it is exercising, getting help if I need help, from whether it's within my household or outside, eating healthier, spending more time with my family or children, probably taking more time to really listen to what my patients are saying, or if there are healthcare workers on this call, so taking more time rather than rushing through because I have so many people. What am I committing to, and who is going to help to hold me accountable to that? All right. So in our discussion, in the last, I'm going to pause here and just have a little bit of discussion with you regarding family, work, career, everything, and how I'm balancing that, right? So now we are going to actually talk to me, if you are open to doing that, right? Is anybody on this call now that was on the first self-care? Right? Hello? Somebody saying something? No? All right. So I'll just quickly go back through. When we are taking care of ourselves and when we're beginning to implement a self-care routine, right? One of the things is that we want to take care of ourselves first. If you have ever traveled or seen the safety procedures for when you're in an airplane, I think it might be very similar, other than the oxygen, for being on like a ship. But the idea is that you help yourself first before assisting anyone else. Because if I am not stable, if I'm not getting oxygen, I'm not going to be able to provide the help to somebody else, right? Hello? So what might that look like? What are you committing to, right? Anybody here willing to share what they are committing to with something in their daily routine for self-care that will help to create more balance in their life. And self-care does not necessarily mean doing a particular thing, like maybe going to the hair salon or doing my nails or getting a massage. Those are all self-care acts, yes, but self-care could also mean spending more time with my partner, actually listening to my partner, focusing on what they're saying, because a lot of the times we might be engaged, but we have something else on our mind. We're probably on our phone. Anybody here can relate to that? Anybody open to sharing any of their self-care practices that they're currently using or engaging in that's helpful and that's working for you? Sharing is caring. So what might be working for you might help somebody else on the call. Anybody willing to share? Nobody? Can use the chat and share as well if you're feeling shy to open the mic and share.
Sorry, I just joined. Could you repeat what you said, Janelle?
I was saying for self-care, right? What practices are you currently engaging in? What do you do for self-care that's working and that you feel that is consistent?
Oh, I didn't have something that's consistent, but from time to time, what I try to do is just get in nature.
Okay.
Go somewhere where I can either like a river or to the beach, or somewhere I can see beautiful flowers, look at beautiful scenery, or just go somewhere have ice cream.
Okay.
I also have started just positive declarations in the morning, commanding my morning, commanding my evenings before I go to bed.
Good.
Yeah,
All
things like that.
right.
I'm talking more about things that affect me.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm hearing a lot of things, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Give me a moment, but I'm hearing connecting with nature is helpful for you, eating ice cream, declarations or affirmations, right? That basically work. And I'm hearing that you do it twice a day in the morning. It sounds like it sets a tone for or an intention for the day, and in the evenings, and also not holding things inside, talking about what's bothering you or what's feeling heavy. Am I correct on that's what you shared just now? Is that correct, Renzi?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and so I have two questions for you. Can you help us to understand, especially with nature, since that one came up first, but it doesn't have to be geared towards that. You could answer for any one of those practices. Can you help us to understand how it makes you feel when you do any one of those practices? What does it do for you?
Okay, so I'll start off with nature, which is main one for me. As a child, I really loved outdoors. So sometimes even remember in childhood, just that kind of memory. Nostalgia it gives a good feeling. And just looking at the sky, hearing the birds, or listening to the stream, or just seeing beautiful flowers, fresh air, that kind of thing. It makes me feel relaxed. It's not like I get away from the trouble, because when you go back into reality,
Right.
you have to deal with the challenges, but just away from the stressors and so on. It makes me feel relaxed. Makes me feel, at peace. Yeah.
So what I'm basically hearing you say is, in that moment, my stress is still there, but I'm able to feel relaxed and at peace in that moment that I step away and choose to focus on the birds, the flowers, the sensations as I engage in nature. And it even takes me back to childhood and what I felt or how I felt then. Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay, thank you for sharing that. So my next question, because you said I don't do it, I'm not consistent with it, right? So I'm gonna put you on the spot now. All right. What do you think is getting in the way? If that helps you to feel so peaceful, so relaxed, away from whatever stressors may be coming at you daily, what do you think is getting in the way of you being able to do it more consistently?
I do think that I'm not managing very well in terms of the demands of work. So in terms of like with balancing work with social life and so on, I'm having a challenge there, and just proper time management skills. I just need to, improve in that area. So I think that those are the areas that are kind of affecting me in being more consistent and just having the discipline. I need to develop discipline.
Okay, so if you had support from work in terms of managing better your time at work, whether it's scheduling, do you think that would help you to be able to engage more on that side of yourself or with that self-care practice?
Yeah, it could.
All right. So what would it take for us to have that conversation with are you the supervisor for where you are? Or do you report to somebody else?
Yeah, I report to someone else.
Right? Having that conversation, or going back to what I mentioned, I know you said that you joined a bit late, but a few moments before this, one of the things in committing to making that effort, having that discipline, doing it, is also having how committed am I to this on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most committed, 0 being the least committed. How committed am I to ensuring that maybe twice a week I get into nature? And it doesn't have to be I need to go somewhere, right? On my way home, can I navigate but also pay attention to the sounds I'm hearing? Sometimes I think what might get in the way for us is thinking that I have to go somewhere to get this, where sometimes we can look at what we have in the environments that we're in each day, whether it's home or work, and just try to even connect in that way, even for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. If I have more than that time as well. So one, where is your accountability level for yourself? And then also your commitment level for yourself in trying to make it more consistent, even when it gets very busy with work. And then two, also identifying your accountability partner, right? Who is that person that's going to help to keep me on track? So those are some suggestions. I hope that's helpful for you, Renzi.
Yes, it is.
All right.
I have been trying to see who that for the past maybe 3 weeks. I've really been trying to like source an accountability partner but among people that I know, but not being able to do that. I guess everybody have their own little stuff dealing with.
Sure. Can you do
Yeah.
it for yourself? Do you think you can do it for yourself in the event of not finding somebody? Because sometimes we have to be that person for ourselves too.
Yeah, I know, but I've been like that for quite a while, but not at this time. I think definitely someone else being the accountability partner
Would
would
help.
have helped me much more now at this point.
Sure. All right. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. And I'm hoping that what you shared, somebody's mic is open. I'm hoping that what you shared may have helped others, right? I'm seeing that Miss Odette Curry has shared that she does gardening, sightseeing, going to the river or the beach. And what feelings would you say, happened for you, or what is that experience like for you in doing that? Are you willing to share? Opening your mic, or you can use the chat and I'll relate it. Are you with us still? All right, she may not have been here. Anybody else willing to share? All right, or anybody else willing to comment on comment in the sense of, can I relate to what Renzi said with not being consistent, or not being able to find the time, or not being able to identify an accountability partner? Can anybody relate?
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I can somewhat relate because my self-care would be exercising. No matter how tired I am, I believe if I go in the gym or something, it just gives me a renewed spirit.
Okay.
However, because of COVID, it kind of threw me off a bit there.
Sure.
And then I just gave birth. I have a 2-month-old.
Okay,
So
congratulations.
thanks. The stresses of a new baby.
Sure.
Plus, being a mother to an older one who is online, we have to be monitoring. And also, sure, it kind of leaves no time for me to really get that exercise in. So the consistency I've really fallen. And after giving birth, that's the time you really need to get some exercise in. So I can understand when he's saying that the consistency is not there. It's kind of difficult to find that balance.
Okay. So what would it look like help me to understand a little better? Exercise is one of your ways of self-care, but being consistent is where the challenge is, especially with a newborn and an older child, right?
The older child is not so much the issue because she's 14, so she can kind of take care of herself. It's just monitoring.
Okay.
But I like to exercise mainly in the mornings, and because I'm doing my master's also, so in the evenings I have class, so I have to do the exercise in the mornings.
Sure.
But that is the time when the baby decides to wake up.
Sure. So what does your support system look like to help to facilitate that meeting?
To be honest,
yes.
My husband was supposed to be the support system. He was doing well for a while because he ensured that he wake me up in the morning and say, let's go. But for the past 2 weeks, I think, his work he's been busy at work. So I once he's out, I am not getting out of that bed.
Okay, well, we need to have that conversation, honey. We need to get back on track with this, right? We have to, And even going to the extent of recognizing that we are each other's support system. So even though work is busy, even though I might have to be away for a bit, etc., how can we kind of play tag team, if that makes sense, so that we are both benefiting and balancing at the same time, right? So even if it's one day a week, what will that look like? So having that conversation, which day might be the better day. I can't tell you exactly what that's going to look like because you're the expert in your home and how that part works, right? But having that conversation to be able to get back on track, because sometimes we'll fall off, but we don't want to stay off. We want to come back on track, and we also don't want to focus on the steps back. We want to look at the steps forward. So even though for the last 2 weeks I might have fallen off because of work and not having such having a lot of support because work has gotten busy for my husband, I also want to recognize that tomorrow's a new day to start over and go again, right? If we have that mindset of tomorrow's a new day to start, to try, even if it's 10 minutes, let's start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps.
It does. I think it does plays on the mind because in a bit I'll be back at work and I'm thinking each day that pass and I don't exercise, I'm thinking I need to get going because I can't go back to work looking like this.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
All right. I noticed that I just jumping back to the chat. Miss Odette has shared that her experience of what she does for self-care helps her to relax, forget about her stressors in the moment, and change her mood, right? So I've actually had 2 people. How many people are here on this call? 19 people, and 2 out of 19 people, 3 actually, have shared that when I engage in my self-care practice, I do feel better. Even though I might still have those stressors, it helps in the moment, right? So what percentage is that out of the number of people who are here that's actually validating how helpful it is when I put my oxygen mask on first, when I take care of me first, right? And when Caroline, I hope I said it right, was sharing, something that came to me is sometimes they say, I don't have the time, but how can I create it? Going back to those people who feel like nature is helpful or connecting for them. I think we have to eat, and I think we have to have hygiene. That's something that should be in our daily routine. So I might not be able to go out in nature because of how busy my schedule is, but I might have to take a bath. So what might it look like to connect my Bluetooth speakers to birds chirping and just listen to that while I am doing my hygiene, right? That is another way of connecting, right? It might not be physical, but I'm beginning to create that for myself, even on a day when I'm not able to, right? Same thing, going back to the exercise. If I may self-disclose, not that I'm bringing myself into it, but there was a point in time where I used to have to do, I like to work my legs and I'm exercising. So I didn't have time, similar to what Caroline shared, doing my master's, working full time. The only thing I didn't have is children. But it was very hectic. I ended up doing some of my exercises in the shower because I just had to find that time to help me with that balance of being able to care for myself while I also care for others, right? So it also helps us to become creative in how can I do this even when I might fall off or I might not have the time. What might that look like? All right. Anybody else willing to share anything? I'm gonna take one more person if you're willing to. And then I'm going to jump into the next activity. Anybody else?
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I'm Nerida, my first time on this platform. However, I've been listening and it's interesting and I would like to share.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so for me, for my personal thing, I like to be pampered. So my hair, my nails, facials, pedicure. At home, you give yourself the spa day. So I always try to do that. I love music. It sets the mood or the tone. And if there's something nagging on my brain, then a song will shift the entire scenario, so to speak. And sometimes, when you shift your mind from something, then clarity comes. And I like to write, I like to read. So I'm not very social. So for me, COVID is not a damper on my
Yeah.
social activities. I tend to socialize with myself. I like the things that keeps me occupied, so to speak. So reading, music, my own thing. In terms of the not consistency, I'm not consistent with my exercise as well, but I try not to beat myself up too much.
Okay.
That is not really no time, just not consistent. Because I like to read. So I'd rather sit back and read and do the exercise part of it.
Okay. All right. Narito, that's what you said, right?
Yeah, that's my name, yes.
Okay, thank you for, were you finished?
Yeah, that's basically me in a
Okay.
nutshell.
All right, thank you for sharing. And one of the things that you brought up, which is very important, is the music, right? I'm really glad that you shared that because music does something for us. And if we look at different aspects, I'm gonna generalize here, all right? If we look at, if we're Christians and we attend church, if we look at sometimes the structure of how a service is set out, a lot of the time praise and worship may come before we get into the sermon or the lesson, because that helps to shift our mood and prepare us to whatever it is that we are engaging in that type of forum, all right? On another extreme, sometimes, or not really extreme, but in a different situation, when we look at going out, for example, if we do go out, or even in a restaurant, right? There is some sense of background music to help to shift. And I don't know how much you may pay attention, depending on the type of restaurant you go to, the music might be different. So if it is something a bit more upscale, maybe where we'd probably go on a date or some type of business meeting where we want to engage with the person a bit more, the music is more soft, it might be more instrumental, but it helps to shift that mood, right? On another extreme, there might be engagement with music when we look at certain genres, like going out in the sense of maybe a party or carnival or the clubs, etc. And that shifts again, okay? So depending on where you're at in your journey, whether it is spiritual or spiritual, going back to what I shared about being in a church setting, music plays a very big role in helping to uplift, and sometimes it can uplift and it can bring us down depending on the genre. So if we're in a sad place, maybe we've lost a relationship and we listen to a lot of the sad songs, then that can shift our mood too. If we're in a sad place and we listen to uplifting songs, that can also shift our mood. So thank you for sharing, Narita, with mood, and not necessarily mood, but the music and how helpful it is. And I'm hoping that that's helpful for others. All right, guys, I really appreciate you sharing today. I want to jump into how grief plays a role in our balance, in our work-life balance as we take care of others, right? And here I have alone, we're alone together, right? So we recognize grief as a loss of anything, whether it's a loss of a loved one, the loss of our health, of our finances, the loss of a relationship, the loss of anything, the loss of me being consistent with my self-care routine, right? We have feelings about that. So we also want to recognize how losses may play a part, right, in our lives and how we cope with it. Sometimes when we resist, is that really helping us, or is that pushing us away when we resist whatever it is that might be coming up? Because sometimes that happens too. I'm not sure if Renzi is still here with us, but recognizing that I still have the thing that's stressing me, but I step away from it for a moment, right? I step away from it, engage in something that makes me shift my mood. I might be able to look at it from a different way where it does not feel as heavy and it's not like I'm resisting. Anybody here has lost any loved ones or lost any patients during this time of crisis that we're facing? Anybody here grieving and willing to share, whether via chat or opening the mic and sharing? Anybody? Okay.
Yes, good evening,
Hi,
everyone.
good evening.
My name is Judith. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Judith. Welcome.
Yes. So let me see now. Grieving. Am I still grieving? I suppose. So I lost my ex-husband, my child's father, on the 22nd of last month, year August, to the coronavirus, of course. As I've said before, I told person that we have been divorced and separated and all that for the past 25 years. And in spite of that long period of time, the impact, we still have a good relationship. In holiday, after all the arguments and the hatred and the forgiveness and all of that. But the impact, it is still there. Today, August, September, October, that's actually 2 months and 1 day since he has passed. And the impact is great. It's still great. Because from time to time, I still, even today, like I'm just saying to myself, is it really dead? This is somebody who we have shared the house that I'm living in now.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time that I saw him, it was we were celebrating our grandchild's birthday in July, and then he came to Jamaica, and when I returned home the following week, he went back up and then he took ill, and that was it. Maybe because of the connection from not seeing him for a period of time and all of that, and then he was there, all of us were there, so a celebration thing, and then just like that, and it has on my child. So I'm just grieving for my baby who lost her father, and not just she. I am grieving for her because she has other siblings as well. And her sister, she lost her grandma the week before, and her aunt to the COVID. So it just so, I'm grieving for my child and for the other siblings as well.
Sure.
But the long and the short of the whole virus thing here, the impact that it has on families, it's great. It's really great. And but sometimes when I actually listen, because I heard this lady, I saw this lady in the news who lost her two sisters, a brother, and her spouse. One the 11th to the 13th, and one the 19th. I was like, Jesus have mercy.
Wow.
How could a person like that move on after losing? I mean, these are persons who are so close to her, for them. One impacted me so much, one, and she lost four. So it is like that, but it's one, as my ex-husband would say, it's 1 hour at a time. Take things 1 hour at a time, and
Yes.
you obviously can actually get over it. But yes, that's the reality.
Thank you for sharing. Sorry to hear about your loss. And if I may say, sometimes grief becomes a bit more complicated than what we are experiencing on the surface. And it might be helpful to, it's still a bit early. When I say still a bit early, meaning the timeline that you have shared, it's still recent. However, there is no right time to reach out for help beyond me just helping myself. So basically what I'm saying is, if you feel like going to talk and express and to process what you're feeling as it relates to grief, then reach out and get that help, right? And as I said, there is no right time. Having worked with people who experience grief or what would look like complicated grief, it could be years beyond, and we still go through this, right? It could be something that triggers, and I'm going to experience this. So I want to just quickly share with you, and not just for Judith's help, but for everybody on this call. When we grieve, we actually have a cycle, right? And that cycle looks like this: anger, a set certain feelings that we notice we experience as we go through grief or we process grief. Denial, which I heard Judith saying, sometimes I wonder if this is really real. Did this really happen, right? I might feel some sense of depression or prolonged sadness regarding this, all right? I might begin to bargain. Why was it him? How could it be so? Why wasn't it me? What else could I have done, right? I'm speaking in Julie's case, but generalizing, right? Even that person that you shared about, probably even for that person who lost 4 people, bargaining with, what me do, so why all of this happened to me? And then we reach a sense of acceptance. Now, the thing with grief is that we don't go from one to the other to the other. We can go from anger to acceptance, then feeling denial, then go to bargaining, then back to anger, right? And sometimes that's what makes it complicated, but recognizing that I am somewhere in one of these stages. What do I need to do to help myself? What self-care practice will help me to be balanced when I feel angry, or when I'm in denial, or when I am down and feeling really sad, or when I'm bargaining, or when, hey, I'm accepting that this has happened, right? That's one thing, in addition to recognizing my triggers. So I'm sure being in the healthcare field, you're also aware of transference and countertransference. And sometimes we are triggered by our patients or people that we take care of. So recognizing what that looks like for me and how I'm going to apply my own self-care practices to create that balance when I'm triggered, right? If I need to go and get a professional help, what does that look like? If I need to call on my support system, what will that look like, right? And knowing what my triggers are. What is that? Sometimes dates are triggers. Sometimes memories or flashbacks with the person are triggers, right? And sometimes grief can be like a double whammy. So we're grieving, going back to Judith, as she shared, she lost her partner, or her, as she mentioned, it's, you know, my ex-partner, but even on the level of grieving for my child and recognizing that loss for him or her. Judith didn't share whether her child is male or female, so hence my response with that. But recognizing that now I am going to have to be mother and father for my child.
My daughter.
My daughter, okay, your daughter. And I might feel angry about that too, right? So within the loss, there is also loss, the loss of, I heard you mentioning grandparents. You're a grandparent as well, Judith?
Yes, my daughter, she's she's married, and we got a grandchild for the both of us,
Right.
my ex-husband and I. So that's our first grandchild.
Right. So even the loss of what that child would, how that child would grow up, of having a grandma and a grandpa, that might trigger something for me. So grief is very annoying, unfortunately, and it can be complicated, but we have to recognize when I'm feeling like this, what I need to help me have that balance, right? So thank you very much for sharing that experience with us, Judith. And I'm noticing, is it Sharon or Sharon? Can you help me to ensure I'm pronouncing it correctly? I'm not sure if she's still with us, but she has shared that she has lost an uncle as well, may not be COVID related.
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Okay, right.
I'm on the road, actually.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yes.
So I hope what I shared about grief has given some insight just now
Sure.
for you. And I'm sorry to hear about that loss.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, so if anything is coming up for anyone up to this point, we move from having self-care practice, making it effortful or making it actually happen, to recognizing how grief and loss might play a part in where I am with being committed to this balance part of my life, right? As we're wrapping up, I know we started a few minutes late, so, and I'd like to be on time. I mean, we could sit here and talk more if you have the time. But I would like us to close. I had asked you to bring some paper. I had asked for us to do, I would like us to do some reflection, but I think I'm going to give that for homework, right? And I'm going to put that in the chat because I do want to close with one specific activity of what it's a mindful meditation of beginning to befriend our experience, because when we resist, that's what makes it even more stressful and difficult. So I'm already not balancing, I'm already not coping. Don't beat up on myself. Let's celebrate what I'm able to balance. Let's celebrate the wins, right? What can I celebrate at the end of the day? When I begin to embrace the reality of it and what it looks like, it becomes easier. In addition to that, when I recognize there are a lot of people that share today who we recognize that a lot of us are experiencing the same or similar themes or concepts, we have a sense of compassion, recognizing that I'm not the only person that's experiencing this or is having some sense of this struggle or not being able to balance or finding it difficult. We're in this together, right? So I do want to close with that, but I'm just going to share one last slide and then we will close with that meditation. And I'm going to put the question, the journaling in the chat, right? Here are some ways that we can improve our work-life balance. Donations of whether time, expertise, or finances, whichever resonates for you. So if I can donate time to others, Sometimes that might be difficult when we have a busy schedule, but even 5 minutes can make a difference, right? At some sense of expertise, whether it's mentoring, interning, or having an intern. Or sometimes I'm not able to donate any of those, but I can give to somebody in need. And that doesn't necessarily have, it could be somebody that you know, could be somebody that you don't know. That's up to you, right? Finding a mentor to provide advice or insight. And I think I want to add to that a professional. So if I'm really struggling and I've tried things and I still feel overwhelmed, or I might just need to talk to process this, reach out and get that help. There is nothing wrong. I think we've stigmatized a lot of things around mental health and talking to someone. And sometimes if there's too much mind talk or clutter in our mind, it's hard for us to be able to have that vision of where I'm going. What does my commitment level look like when I fall off track, etc. So going to see someone to get that help, if that's necessary, to help me with my balance, and that person could also be the accountability partner, right? So we can start at accountability partner, having a mentor, going to seek more professional help if I need to. Plan your vacation and days off in advance. I think I spoke about that in the self-care webinar. Prioritize your top tasks and do them first. So what's urgent and important? We have things that are important, but they're not urgent, and sometimes we focus on that more. Let's take care of important and urgent first, then shifting and going down, right? Or doing it the reverse sometimes. If I have time, can I take care of the easiest things so my motivation increases for me to become focused and get through all of what I need to get done, all right? Exercise as a part of our daily routine. Some people shared about that today, how helpful it is, and taking time to rest both mentally and physically. All right. So I hope today was helpful. I'm going to put in the chat, and then we're going to just begin to just bring our awareness to our breathing. So I'm going to put in the chat your journal question, and then just writing about it. Someone shared that writing helps, right? Writing helps on different levels. It helps us to express and get out what it is that's cluttering or bothering us. And it also gives us some sense of insight. And if I write it down, I can see it. I can see where I'm going. I can look back at it and even compare what progress I've made or where I've slipped up. What might that look like? All right. So it's basically journaling about how you visualize a balanced self, right? What does that person look like? Who are you showing up as? All right, and if you are on the next call, I will definitely check in with what that looks like, how it was helpful or not. All right, and so as we begin to get ready for what we call befriending our experience, if you're driving, please do not close your eyes. I need you to focus on the road, but if you're able to, I want you to just close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing this. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, just shift your gaze and just stare at one point in the room that you're in, softening your gaze. And just begin to sit in a comfortable position with your feet, if you can, firmly on the ground. Your spine is somewhat erect, but not too stiff. And your shoulders relaxed. Just align your body to be at ease. And just bring your awareness to a situation, a circumstance, or a challenge that feels particularly difficult for you currently. Maybe it's something you're experiencing at work, maybe conflict with a team member. Maybe it's something more personal, like a breakdown in your relationship, a worry about health for a loved one. It can be anything that may be causing you to feel outside of your comfort zone. Whatever it is, bring that situation to your awareness and just hold it. Let us notice the situation or the challenge and bring in some non-judgmental curiosity, bringing in mindful awareness to whatever you are experiencing in this moment. Just acknowledge whatever is coming up in your body as you notice how you are feeling as we bring up this challenge, this situation, this circumstance. Knowing that you are safe in this moment, sometimes we experience difficulties and challenges. We feel alone, somewhat like we're the only ones having this experience, this struggle or challenge or difficulty. Let's enlighten ourselves to a sense of common humanity, taking a moment to consider that we all struggle. We are not alone. There are so many people who are struggling currently. Human suffering is a part and parcel of life. It may not be easy, but knowing that we're not in it alone can soften it from the edges. Offering ourselves some self-kindness as we would a loved one or a dear friend going through a similar situation. Let's begin to turn our attention inwards and offer ourselves a gentle, soothing touch with our hands on our heart. And now let's take a moment to find a phrase to offer self-kindness to oneself. What might you say to yourself when you're in a struggle, when you mess up, when it's challenging? Maybe it's, I'm sorry that you're experiencing this, or I am here for you. Just find a phrase that feels comfortable to you and feels loving and kind towards yourself. One that resonates with you. May you find the strength that deals with this situation. May you rest in comfort knowing that you have skills and ability to deal with this. Or coming back to your phrase, I am here for you. Now let's put ourselves in it and repeat after me in our minds. May I find the strength to deal with this situation. May I rest in comfort knowing that I have skills and ability to deal with this situation. I am here for you. As we let go of this short practice, Know that this phrase is available at any time, knowing that this soothing touch is available whenever you are experiencing difficulty. Let's take one last deep intentional breath, letting go and coming back to the present, coming back to the here and now, opening our eyes, reorienting to the room, the space that we're in. And that's the end of our time today. I want some quick feedback, so just use the chat. I don't want to take too much more of your time. So just using the chat, can you share what that compassion, befriending our experience, meditation might have been like for you? Thank you so much for allowing me to do this for you this afternoon. I am looking forward to our next one, doing more of this where we're more interactive. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm gonna turn over to our host, Tamika, at this time.
Wow, wonderful. Wonderful presentation, Janelle. Thank you so much. I'm sure that all, if not most of us, would have definitely benefited from this presentation. It was so informative, engaging, and just the sharing. It was really a wonderful presentation. And I'm sure our participants will be able to, identify their triggers, even, not being able to balance, work-life balance and all that. How it is that we find that balance. We were really informed. One thing I noted as well, is to actually have an accountability partner, because even though at times we might fall off or routines and become inconsistent, when we have accountability partners, somebody that can check in on us, that we can check in on as well, it really does help on this journey of work-life balance. So thank you again, Janelle. Thank you each and everyone for joining in this month. Next month, definitely we will be on again. And we're looking at the 27th of November for our next webinar. So keep that date in mind. Posters will be and flyers will be disseminated with the relevant information. So keep your ears on the ground as well. I want to remind you also that we do offer mental health services. We have our weekly mental health tips, and we also have our free therapeutic session. So if it is that you are in need of talking to someone, just sharing, whatever it is, just feel free to reach out. My contact number is also on the, and we here at CTEC, we're here for you. So the sessions are totally free. There's no cost to it. So feel free to reach out and I'll schedule an appointment for you. All right. Once again, thank you for joining in with us. And it was really a wonderful, wonderful presentation this evening, or an engaging discussion rather. Thank you again. Have a great one. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Be safe. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.